Mm. So, welcome everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Connie, and I'm the program coordinator for Staff and Faculty Health and Wellbeing. We're so pleased to be joined by registered dietitian Laura Meredith-Dennis today for a webinar on how to conquer menopause with fitness and nutrition. So, we're so pleased to have you, and you'll learn more about Laura in just a few seconds here. I wanted to give everybody a reminder. So this is a webinar, so that means that you can't unmute and you can't turn on your video, but you can still interact with us by using the chat function as well as the Q&A function. So you should see those two options at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We prefer that any questions go through the Q&A function. That just makes it easier for us to spot. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Laura.
Thank you, Connie. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. I want to just briefly introduce myself. My name is Meredith-Dennis. I've been a dietitian for about 30 years, mostly as a pediatric dietitian. And I recently just moved over to UC Davis outpatient pediatrics about a year ago. So why is a pediatric dietitian here talking about menopause, you might be asking yourself? Well, because I'm a co-menopause warrior, I like to call it, a CrossFit athlete, and it's my passion to help other people through this transition. So I really appreciate that you've taken the time out of your day to listen to this webinar. And I am super excited to present how to conquer menopause with fitness and nutrition. Quick disclosures, I am a CrossFit coach at Pace Fitness, and I do not receive any financial gains from any companies or products that I endorse today. So let's get started. My objectives today are to briefly discuss menopause in regards to what is happening to your body and why, and how can specific changes in exercise help with these complications. We're going to talk about the importance of nutrition, what specific foods are helpful, when and how much, and then supplements. What should you really be taking? My primary goal, though, is to empower you to take control over menopause and to leave today with tangible tools that you can start using today. So let's first start with just menopause terms. So menopause is the day that marks the 1-year anniversary of your last period. It's literally just one day. The average age of menopause is 51 to 52 years. Perimenopause is the transition towards menopause, and it can happen as early as 10 years prior to menopause. Signs include irregular periods, heavy bleeding, terrible PMS, bloating, and change in body composition with an increase in abdominal fat mass and decreased lean mass. And it can be the most difficult time. And then postmenopause is the rest of your life after your menopause day. So if the average age of menopause is 52, we will live more than a third of our lives in menopause. This emphasizes how important it is to make conscious decisions on how those years are going to look like. Let's discuss the functions of key hormones beyond reproduction. So estrogen is anabolic. It stimulates muscle growth and strength. It also stimulates strong muscle contractions. It regulates inflammation by keeping cortisol in check. It promotes insulin sensitivity, regulates your appetite, manages mood, controls blood pressure, builds bone mass, and has a positive effect on our microbiome or gut bacteria. Progesterone, on the other hand, is catabolic, and it breaks down muscle tissue. It supports healthy connective tissues, protects the brain, provides calming and enhanced memory, improves pain tolerance, builds bone mass, maintains body temperature, and suppresses inflammation. So many important functions for both estrogen and progesterone. Cortisol is not a reproductive hormone. However, it is something to mention. It is our stress hormone. It is catabolic and breaks down muscle tissue. Cortisol increases blood sugar, inflammation, blood pressure, as well as abdominal fat mass. Estrogen and progesterone work together like partners in a dance during premenopause years. But as we move through perimenopause, the partners lose their rhythm. And then finally in menopause, they no longer dance and the music stops. This results in justified craziness. We end up dealing with hot flashes and night sweats, weight gain, specifically in our abdominal area, puffiness, loss of muscle mass and bone mass, sleep disturbances, mood swings, appetite changes, brain fog, joint pain, increased risk of metabolic syndrome, heart disease, osteoporosis, and bone fractures, and 10 to 15% increase in LDL and triglycerides and lower HDL. And I'm going to say this for everybody. This is rude. We have spent our life supporting families, children, careers, and this is where we're at in our mid-50s. So what can you do to make this better? We need to exercise. I discussed the functions of estrogen and progesterone. But once estrogen is gone, there's a loss of internal regulation and stimulus. This results in an increased rate of sarcopenia or age-related muscle loss. After the age of 30, we lose 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade. And with inactivity, there's a potential to lose 50% of our muscle mass by the age of 80. It leads to osteopenia, which is the loss of bone mass. And for bones, the saying, if you don't use it, you'll lose it, is never more true. Bone formation occurs if a greater strain is requested from resistance training, while lower strains or inactivity will promote bone loss. If we're not trying to make bone, we are losing bone. And this leads to the development of frailty. I don't know one person that has the goal of becoming frail as we get older. This is why we need an external stimulus. This is through very specific types of exercise that we're going to review. We need more high intensity exercise, heavy lifting, and plyometrics. We need less low intensity exercise. Exercise needs to be varied, needs to be different every day. And we need more days exercising than not exercising. Additional benefits to exercise is it improves insulin resistance, increases HDL, the good cholesterol, and lowers LDL, the bad cholesterol, improves mood due to serotonin release, and it provides community and connection as we get older. Exercise gives you control over menopause. I challenge you to flip the script in your head. Instead of constantly working to be smaller, focus your efforts on being stronger. Muscle mass is the currency of aging, and I will argue that it's just as important as the retirement savings we all work for. If we do the work to have more lean muscle mass as we get older, we will live longer and healthier lives. So let's talk about the specific types of exercise that are most beneficial for menopausal women. First off is high intensity interval training, specifically sit or sprint interval training. This is 10 to 30 second sprint intervals followed by short rests of 15 to 30 seconds, repeated for 3 to 4 minutes. You rest for 2 to 3 minutes and then work up to 3 rounds. You want to be working at 85% of your maximum heart rate. If you don't know what 85% of your maximum heart rate looks like, that's okay. You should be out of breath, unable to hold a conversation, feel pretty uncomfortable, and definitely making that face in the photo. Then you know you're working at the appropriate level. Sprint interval training can be done on a stationary bike, a rower, swimming, running, hill repeats, or even kettlebells if you have them. A 2019 paper that looked at postmenopausal women ages 47 to 59 years, they did 20 minutes of sprint interval training 3 times per week for 8 weeks. They saw significantly improved body composition with an increase in lean mass and a decrease in fat mass, specifically in the abdominal area. High intensity interval training also improves use of blood glucose and improves insulin sensitivity. Next is heavy lifting. Lifting heavy is the most important thing to incorporate into your exercise as we age. To define heavy lifting, it's 6 reps or less, as heavy as possible, meaning that the last 1 or 2 reps is very difficult to complete. We are no longer looking at the cute little pink weights where we do 4 rounds of 20 or 25 reps. That is not the stimulus that's going to give us the results that we want. We should reserve heavy lifting for squats, deadlift, and press, working large compound muscle groups. The benefits, again, stronger bones and increased muscle mass. The Lift More study was a randomized controlled trial published in 2017 and looked at 101 postmenopausal women greater than 58 years of age with low bone mass. They spent 30 minutes 3 times a week working on 3 movements: deadlift, back squat, and overhead press. The control group did 30 minutes of low intensity home workouts. The results showed significantly improved bone mass and physical function. Lifting heavy, like I said before, increases muscle mass. It provides that external stimulus to tell our bodies we need to get stronger. And lifting heavy is also very effective at changing body composition. Again, increasing lean mass and decreasing muscle mass. How do you learn to lift, though? Heavy lifting is not something you jump into. It takes time to learn a new skill and develop a good foundation. For beginners, body weight movement or resistance bands may provide a perfect start. But as you get stronger, increasing weights will be needed to continue to produce that needed external stimulus to build muscle mass. Finding a good coach to teach you how to do these movements efficiently and safely is extremely helpful. I was lucky enough to walk into a CrossFit gym when I was 41, and it unknowingly changed my trajectory of perimenopause because I became postmenopausal at 48. CrossFit combines lifting with metabolic conditioning, includes gymnastics movements, and a community that supports and cheers you on. When you're not motivated to come to the gym, your people that you see every day at the gym are the ones that get you there. If anyone is interested in checking out CrossFit, I encourage you to come see us at Pace Fitness the week of July 22nd for Bring a Friend Week, when you can come and try it out for free. Lastly is plyometrics, and this is essentially just jumping. It can be small jumps, big jumps, jumping rope, jumping jacks, side hops, skipping. It includes tennis or pickleball that everybody loves. Plyometrics helps maintain strong, fast twitch muscle contractions. This supports stronger bones, but it also helps us from falling. Because when we have strong, fast twitch muscle contractions, when we trip, we are able to catch ourselves and we won't find ourselves on the ground. So how often should you exercise? The standard general recommendation is 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes per week of high intensity exercise. Does that mean we can work out for 40 minutes of high intensity twice a week and see optimal benefits? Not necessarily, because these guidelines are not specific to people in perimenopause and postmenopause. Again, we need an external stimulus to tell our bodies to get stronger and build stronger bones. We will get the most beneficial outcomes when we provide that stimulus more days than not. Our goal should be 4 days per week. But we all start somewhere, and we need to have attainable goals. So if you're starting from the very beginning, 2 days per week may be a perfect attainable goal for you to work on. And as that becomes attainable, shooting for 3 days a week with the ultimate goal of working up to 4 days per week. So I want to ask the question again, why do we need exercise? And this post from Instagram says it perfectly. Squats help you get off the toilet. It will also help you get off that chair and get off the couch when you're 80 and 90 years old. A strong deadlift is going to help you pick up your grandkids. Pressing overhead will allow you to put your suitcase in the overhead bin and not be reliant on other people to do it for you. Lunges will help you take the stairs, but it will also help you get off the floor. Jumping and running will keep you playing. And all of this will keep you from falling. It's not just exercise, it's training to live. And it's your choice. What will your postmenopausal years look like? So we've talked about exercise. So I'm going to switch our focus to nutrition. The important thing to know here is that exercise and nutrition must go hand in hand if we want to have optimal outcomes. Again, exercise provides the stimulus, but nutrition provides the building blocks. If we are going to embark on a new exercise path and expect our bodies to respond well to this stimulus, we must feed it appropriately. This is needed for good results and recovery. So let's talk about nutrition. First, I want to mention chronic dieting. Our heads are often filled with this idea that we must take up less space, and we often focus on words like lose, restrict, diet, low calorie, and often we don't eat enough when our bodies need it the most during the day, which leads to symptoms of fatigue, chronic hangriness, anxiety, irritability, loss of muscle mass, more susceptible to illness, poor sleep, and cravings and binging. We may look to popular diets for quick fixes, all of which are a bad idea. Keto is out because of our altered lipid metabolism. Carnivore is out because we need a lot of fruits and vegetables as well as fiber. Intermittent fasting is out because we need regular intake of food, specifically protein, to optimize muscle protein synthesis. Whole30 and paleo have some very good aspects, but restrict whole grains, beans, and dairy that provide beneficial nutrients during menopause. So my vote for all of those is no. I encourage you to flip the script and focus on fueling for life. So we're going to start with the word more. First off, more protein. Our bodies are in constant turnover, breaking down and rebuilding tissue, muscle, and bone. Yes, we need protein for bone development as well. Protein makes up 50% of bone volume. During perimenopause and menopause, the rate of muscle breakdown exceeds muscle synthesis. Menopause requires more protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis over breakdown than when we were younger. We also need to provide a consistent supply of amino acids, most important one being leucine. So for the amount, we need a minimum of 0.55 grams of protein per pound body weight just to prevent sarcopenia or age-related muscle loss. So for a 150-pound person, this equals 82 grams of protein in a day. This is 50% more than the recommended dietary intake. But for optimal results, we need 0.7 grams of protein per pound body weight with resistance training to build muscle. Again, for a 150-pound person, this is 105 grams of protein per day. Timing is just as important as the amount. We need to spread out our protein intake evenly as much as we can throughout the day. This looks like about 30 grams of protein per meal and 5 to 10 grams of protein per snack. The most important window is within 30 to 60 minutes after your workout, where we want to get about 30 grams of protein in. I mentioned leucine, and leucine is an amino acid that stimulates muscle protein synthesis and shuts off muscle breakdown. That's why it's important to eat protein after our workouts to be able to get muscle protein synthesis going and shut off muscle breakdown. This is a list of protein sources for your reference. I have meat and dairy sources, vegetarian sources, and whole grains. 4 ounces of meat looks like the size of a deck of cards. Whole grains, don't forget, can be a very significant good amount of protein source. And getting 35 grams of protein in a meal is not that difficult. This example is a burrito bowl. 4 ounces of chicken breasts or 4 ounces of tofu, half a cup of black beans, half a cup of farro, because right now that is my favorite, plus all the veggies, avocado, salsa, and for me, always a squeeze of lime or two. This provides about 25 to 43 grams of protein. If we wanted to optimize the protein intake in the vegetarian bowl, we could add an ounce of hemp heart seeds to get that protein content up to 35 grams. Next, we need more vegetables and fruit. The 800-gram challenge was developed by a dietitian, E.C. Sinkowski, also a CrossFit athlete and gym owner, and it was based on a 2017 meta-analysis by D. Aoun et al. It showed a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and all-cause mortality with an intake of 800 grams of fruits and vegetables, and beans included. This is about 6 cups of fruits and vegetables, as you can see in this photo. If you don't like weighing or measuring, that's perfectly fine. You can use your fist as an estimate for a cup of fruits or vegetables. What does this do? This adds in fruits and vegetables to most of our meals and snacks. But more importantly, it leaves less room for other less nutrient dense and processed foods. It optimizes fiber to greater than 20 grams a day with our minimum goal of 25 grams per day. And it optimizes intake of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory nutrients, which we need more of during menopause. And lastly, high fiber carbohydrates. We need carbohydrates. And there's always been an emphasis that carbohydrates are bad. We just need to choose the right ones. High fiber, nutrient dense carbs. Look for whole grains that have greater than 3 or 5 grams of fiber per serving. High fiber carbs also include beans and lentils. The other advice is don't eat naked carbs. Combine them with protein and or fat, and always leave the skin on potatoes. This provides slow digestion and also helps increase satiety. And the benefits of high fiber carbohydrates, obviously is the fiber, but also B vitamins, vitamin E, zinc, magnesium, antioxidants, phytochemicals, and healthy fats. So this is what the menopause plate looks like when we're putting it all together. 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, 1.5 to 2 cups of vegetables and fruits takes up about half of our plate, about a half a cup of whole grains, a source of healthy fats, and most importantly, make it beautiful and delicious. Every meal that we have, we should look forward to. We shouldn't be having dry chicken and steamed broccoli with no seasoning or flavor. We definitely should enjoy what we are eating. And then snacks could possibly be a low-fat Greek yogurt and fruit, berries, low-fat cottage cheese and bell pepper slices, hummus with carrots and cucumbers, or one of my favorites, Greek yogurt, raspberries, about a half an ounce of 70% dark chocolate chips. I chop them up, and about a half an ounce of chopped almonds. Around 3 or 4 o'clock, when a lot of us are looking for the candy jar, looking for something sweet, we're starting to drag in the afternoon. I love knowing that I have a snack that I have packed for myself that is delicious, that is yummy, that has chocolate in it, and I can enjoy it and get right back to work. And lastly, I wanted to touch briefly on alcohol because it can be a significant hindrance to your attempts at changing your body composition. Alcohol, put very shortly, it's a toxin and it cannot be stored. The metabolism of alcohol becomes the liver's top priority to remove this toxin. The consequences of this, it shuts down the use of carbohydrates, protein, and fat for energy, and this is instead stored as fat. It increases levels of cortisol, which can contribute to abdominal fat if alcohol intake is consistent. It causes low blood sugar and thus cravings for higher carbohydrate foods. It increases hunger and blunts satiety. It causes sleep disturbances. For us, we already have problems with sleeping, and it can worsen hot flashes and night sweats. The dietary guidelines for Americans from 2020 to 2025 is no more than 1 drink per day for women, but Canada just recently updated their guidelines and they recommend no more than 2 drinks per week. I just want to emphasize that if you are trying to work on changing your body composition, alcohol is not our friend. So let's move on to supplements. There are so many. What do I choose? First thing, how to choose a good one. You want to look for reputable brands. You can look at consumerlab.com to see which ones have favorable ratings. Look for seals of approval. USP and NSF International ensures a supplement for quality as well as purity. And oftentimes I go to a supplements direct website to confirm that they do third-party testing. Supplements are not regulated by the FDA, meaning we can purchase a supplement and it'll say that it has a certain ingredient on the food label, and the supplement we're taking, it may not have any of that in there. We want to be certain that it is third-party tested. And then be skeptical of companies that make grand claims. So we're going to start with supplements for better sleep. And I put these in the order in which to try them, or in the order that I recommend them. The first one is magnesium glycinate. It improves quality of sleep, longer sleep time, falling asleep faster, and less tiredness. Also helps with restless leg syndrome and night leg cramps. The recommended dietary intake is 310 to 320 milligrams per day. Good magnesium dietary sources are pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, beans, edamame, dark chocolate, ding ding, and whole grains. You can supplement with 200 to 300 milligrams before bed, but do not exceed 350 milligrams per day. The second recommendation for better sleep is L-theanine. L-theanine is an amino acid, and it has been shown to improve falling asleep, staying asleep, and overall sleep quality. It increases serotonin and dopamine release, and you can find L-theanine in green tea and mushrooms. The supplement dose is 100 to 400 milligrams before bed, but start with the lowest dose first and see if it works. If not, you can go up. Precautions, you should speak to your physician if you're taking blood pressure medication, as L-theanine does decrease your blood pressure. And lastly, valerian root. Some studies show that it helps improve insomnia and sleeplessness. The dose is 250 to 400 milligrams 1 hour before bed, or 2 to 5 droppers of tincture made up, but it may take up to 30 days to show an effect. Precautions include it may cause headaches, dizziness, stomach aches, or fatigue, and there are some possible drug interactions with anti-anxiety medications. So discuss with your primary care physician before starting. Supplements for hot flashes and night sweats. The first one is soy. Soy contains isoflavones, a type of phytoestrogens that have weak estrogen-like effects. Multiple studies have shown some reduction in both severity and frequency of hot flashes. Food first, you can try a half a cup of edamame, a cup of soy milk, or 3 ounces of tofu or tempeh daily. If soy intake is not a choice for you, you can Supplement with isoflavone, 40 to 50 milligrams per day, but you may get more benefit if you divide the dose and take it 2 times a day. And I want to emphasize that soy is safe. It has been thought in the past that soy products increase the risk for cancer. However, more rigorous research has led both the American Institute for Cancer Research and the American Cancer Society to revise their position in 2013. They both state that soy products are safe and provide many health benefits. The second supplement for hot flashes is black cohosh. There are studies to show that it helps decrease hot flashes, mild to moderate night sweats, and mood swings. The dose is 40 milligrams per day of a standardized extract. The maximum time that you should take this supplement, however, is 4 to 6 months, as there is limited amount of long-term data. And precautions is it may cause headaches. Next, let's talk about supplements for bone. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is most known for its importance for bone development. However, it is also essential for immune function, heart health, and muscle development and function. The minimum requirement is 800 to 1,000 units daily. But it's important to monitor your 25-hydroxy vitamin D level because many women are either insufficient or deficient in vitamin D. We want your vitamin D level to be 30 to 40 nanograms per ml. Dietary sources include fortified dairy, egg yolks, salmon, tuna, and also the sun. One thing to note is that milk is fortified with vitamin D, but if you look at yogurt, whether it's yogurt or yogurt drinks, typically the vitamin D content is low or none. So just be aware that a lot of times your yogurts are not fortified with vitamin D. The other thing about the sun is that we in Sacramento can produce vitamin D from springtime through probably early fall because of where the sun is. However, as we get older, our ability to make vitamin D from the sun declines. Supplements are typically 1,000 to 2,000 units daily. However, if you're insufficient or deficient in vitamin D, you might need significantly more than this amount. And you should get this amount either from a dietitian or your primary care physician. Calcium requirements, 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day is the requirement. With calcium, food sources are much more desirable over supplements. Dietary sources obviously are dairy, as well as fortified milk alternatives, tofu, edamame, almonds, greens, and cruciferous vegetables. If you need a supplement, it's best to divide it and take it 2 times a day. And then let's talk about general nutrition supplements. The first one is creatine. Possibly many of you haven't even heard of creatine. Creatine is the most studied sports supplement there is, and data is showing that it can be quite beneficial for people with both perimenopause and postmenopause. Creatine is an organic acid in muscle cells utilized for energy production and muscle development, and it also supports stronger bones. It reduces inflammation, oxidative stress, and bone breakdown. Food sources is all meats. The supplement amount is 3 to 5 grams per day, and you can get it in either powder form or gummies. Data shows that creatine supplement with resistance training improves muscle mass and strength. Next, omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. These decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease, improve immune function, improve recovery after workouts, increases muscle protein synthesis. Food sources, the American Heart Association recommends 4 ounces of fatty fish 2 times per week. This can come from salmon, tuna, trout, bronzini. It can be wild caught or farm raised, either one. But if you don't like fish, or if you're not getting this amount, the supplement recommended is 1 to 3 grams per day of total omega-3 fatty acids, with a supplement containing 500 to 1,000 milligrams of DHA and 300 to 500 milligrams of EPA. Next supplement to discuss is protein, whey protein supplements. And I bring this up because it's an excellent source of leucine, and leucine stimulates muscle protein synthesis. It's digested very quickly, and it's an excellent thing to use when you're trying to get that protein in right after a workout. The 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes to 1 hour after exercise. For those of you that are vegetarian or vegan, you need about 40 grams of vegan protein powder to get the same result because of the lower content of leucine in vegan powders. The next one is collagen. Collagen is very popular. And I might disappoint you in my comments about collagen. The first one I want to discuss is peptides. There are 5 types of collagen. Collagen peptides are type 1 and type 3. They're bovine sourced, and they're advertised for skin, hair, and nails, and it's very well absorbed. But the truth about collagen, there isn't enough proof that taking collagen peptide supplements will make a difference in skin, and there is actually no data for any benefit for hair and nails. Collagen is a protein that our bodies break down to amino acids just like it does other protein sources. And there's no data to show that collagen peptides are digested and absorbed and directly used for skin cell production. In addition, the majority of studies were funded by manufacturers of collagen, so there's a large risk for bias. You will likely get more benefit from just increasing your total protein intake, so there is plenty of amino acids available for all your body needs. On the other hand, there is data to show that type 2 collagen is helpful. Type 2 collagen is intact collagen, and it's sourced from chickens. Type 2 collagen is used to improve cartilage and joint pain and arthritis. Interesting thing about type 2 collagen is that it's not absorbed, but it does induce an immunologic response in the GI tract that prevents breakdown of cartilage and decreases joint inflammation. The dose is 10 to 40 milligrams per day of intact type 2 collagen. Lastly, probiotics. I mentioned previously that there is a very unique and integral relationship between estrogen and our gut microbiome. The definition of probiotics is live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, will confer a health benefit on the host. There's a direct relationship, like I said, between estrogen and our gut bacteria. And when we lose estrogen, it disrupts our gut bacteria, resulting in dysbiosis. Dysbiosis meaning that there is an altered balance between the good bacteria in our gut and the bad bacteria in our gut. Benefits of supplementation are improved immunity, anti-inflammatory, improved bone health, and decreased cardiovascular risk. So probiotic supplementation type, we want a supplement that contains lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. The amount is at least 25 billion CFUs, or colony-forming units, and it must be taken daily for benefit. Precautions are those people that are immunocompromised or post-operative. And ignorance is not bliss. We need to monitor our health currency. We need to know what our muscle mass is, what our bone density is, what our visceral fat mass is. The number on the scale is not the number that's important. It's these numbers. And we should be monitoring our health currency the same way that we monitor our retirement funds to make sure that we have enough when we retire. We can do this through a DEXA scan. You can ask your primary care physician to do a full body DEXA scan that will not only give you bone density, but it'll give you muscle mass and fat mass and visceral fat mass. You can go to Dexafit downtown. I've gone many times and pay for the scan yourself. Out of pocket, it's $110. You can go to Groupon and get a discounted rate. The scans include body composition and bone density. And they also do a separate assessment of resting metabolic rate if you're interested. You can come to Pace Fitness and do an in-body scan for $10. This does provide an estimate of your resting metabolic rate. However, it does not assess bone density. We also have a $15 a month scanning membership if you plan to scan more than once a month. So in summary, I encourage you to make yourself a priority. High intensity interval training, lifting, and jumping with fuel helps negate menopause consequences. I encourage you to eat food, optimize your protein around training, but also spread out throughout the day. Focus on vegetable, fruits, complex, high fiber carbohydrates. No naked carbs, and fuel your workouts both before and after. And choose your supplements wisely. Really look at them. Be kind to your body. It deserves love and support through exercise, fuel, and nourishment. And lastly, be patient with the process. And I'm going to close with Joan. She started lifting at 71 and it changed her life. It is never too late. So I encourage you to be like Joan. Here are some reputable resources on Instagram, as well as books that I find are very helpful. And then lastly, here are my references. Thank you so much. I'll give it back to you, Connie.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura. So informative. We had some great interaction in the chat as well as quite a lot of questions. So I'm wondering if we can take you up on your offer if we don't get to all of them, if you'd have a moment to answer them, and we can send that back out in a follow-up email.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. And I wanted to for everybody here, give a minute to Dr. Frederman, who's joining us today, to talk about the Menopower Interest Group. So I'll put the information in the chat here for you, Laura.
Thank you. And I'll just take 2 seconds so then we can have 5 minutes for questions. But we have a support group. It's a peer support group for people going through perimenopausal menopause at UC Davis and also outside if you have friends who might be interested. We meet once a month, the first Friday of every month at 4 to 5. And we share how we feel and what we try and what we feel works. And people talk about their experiences, for example, with hormone therapy or other, if they try supplements, and we share resources. We have a box folder with some information and papers that we hope grows more if people participate. And a Slack channel that we're trying to update because I set it up in a way that now not everyone can access it. But yeah, it's we organized this. It's been a while now. Myself and Michelle Belden, we were working together and kind of came up with this idea of having conversations with other people going through this to make it easier. And it's been great. Every month there's not a lot of us. There's like 200 people in the group, but every month there might be like 10 people that join because it's very flexible. And if people are busy or not feeling upset, then they don't want to come and talk about menopause. But yeah, I invite anyone, email me or just use the link. If you email me, I can add you to the invite for every month and you can show up whenever you want. It's a Zoom meeting. Again, no experts. This is just a peer support group on menopause. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Laura, I have some questions for you.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I think some people found some of the exercise recommendations to be a bit intimidating. So how would you recommend they get started?
So yeah, like I said, we all start at our own place. And talking about the sprint interval training. So if walking right now is your exercise of choice at the moment, this would look like um, holding a faster pace of walking that makes you out of breath for 20 to 30 seconds, and then slow walking, and then fast pace, and then slow. So it can literally be done at any level because everybody's level of intensity is going to look different. Okay. So this can be done. I love stationary bikes for this because you're seated. You can go as fast as you can for your specific person. And then nice and easy, fast, easy, fast, easy. And then in regards to lifting, I talked about body weight movements. This is maybe just squatting to a chair and standing up. It could be that. It could be just body weight. Resistance bands are great where you can utilize resistance with the band to make that squat harder as you get better with those body weight squats. So there's always scaling options, right? And again, like I mentioned when I first started CrossFit, I didn't do any of those lifts per se. And they teach you from the very beginning. You may start with just a PVC pipe, no weight at all. And they teach you the movement and the mobility that you need. And then you progress from there.
Right. Okay. How about those who have back or spinal issues? Seems to be more common as you age. And jumping and running isn't recommended if you have this kind of degeneration of your spine. So how can you do the exercises safely?
Um, well, you always have to work around the injuries that you may have. So jumping potentially may not be a thing for some people. But you could still do different types of like leg press where you're in a seated position and you're able to still have some load on your legs. A lot of things can be done seated. And then again, we sometimes tend to automatically assume that we can't do things. But if you have a coach that can help you and knows how to scale things for very specific situations, you may find that you can do more than you think. And the one thing that I want to point out is the Lift More study that I discussed. All of the women in that study had significant bone loss. And part of that study was to show that not only could they do these movements, but that it would not increase their further risk of bone fracture. And it showed improved bone mass and functional movements, and they didn't have any additional risk of bone fracture.
Okay. I have a question regarding nutrition. If we are eating enough protein, fiber, healthy fats, wouldn't snacking happen less?
It's very possible. Yep. It's very possible that if you're getting that kind of volume during meals, that yes, snacking would potentially happen less. It also depends on when your exercise comes during the day, because typically you'll need some type of snack before you work out, especially excuse me, if you're working out after work. If you eat lunch at noon, we're gonna want you to eat something around 3 o'clock if you're going to be going to the gym around 4:30. But absolutely, yes, sometimes snacking is less.
Okay. And thoughts on why some of your recommended like yogurts and cottage cheese were low fat and non-fat and not whole fat?
So the type of fat that's in dairy contains quite a bit of saturated fat, and saturated fat is pro-inflammatory. So with dairy products, we want them to be low fat or non-fat, as well as our meats, we want them to be lean and low fat as well.
And what about, do you have any advice on like home scales that measure muscle mass or bone density and all the other numbers that you said to keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so you can definitely purchase a body composition scale for home. I have one. I don't remember the brand, but I think they're all fairly similar. And the one thing about home scales like that is the actual number. So when you weigh yourself on that scale, it'll give you your muscle mass, your fat mass, it'll give you all kinds of other numbers. The numbers themselves are not overly accurate. However, they're still very beneficial because the change in those numbers are accurate. So if your muscle mass on your scale is going up, that's accurate, and you're building additional muscle mass. Same thing if your fat mass is going down. So the actual number that it says you have is not overly accurate, but the change in that number is. So those can be very helpful. Absolutely.
Great. I do want to be mindful of time. We are a bit over, just because we simply had so much great information to share today. We had a lot of interaction in the chat and the questions, and so I'll be sure to take note of those and send them over to our presenter today. I want to say thank you very much to Laura Dennis for coming and presenting such a thorough presentation, and thank you to all of our participants. We'll be sure to send out a follow-up email with the feedback survey and recording link and additional other links that were mentioned today. So thank you all.
Thank you.